Hi, this is Mrs. Doris. This is Algebra Lesson, Chapter 8, Lesson 2, entitled Multiplying and Factoring. Our objective is that you will multiply and factor polynomials, and this is an important chapter because all the facts in arithmetic and algebra follow from certain properties. And a single quantity can be represented by many different expressions. All right, so here we go. Problem 1. We're multiplying a monomial, which is a single term, and a trinomial, which has 3 terms. All right, so to do this, we are going to use the distributive property. All right, and looking at our problem, what is a simpler form of 5n times the quantity 3n cubed minus n squared plus 8? We're going to take our multiplier, 5n, and we're going to distribute it by multiplying each term in the trinomial by 5n. So, for instance, first of all, and I'm going to do this as we do it. I'm going to take the 5n times the 3n cubed. All right, so 5n times 3n cubed. All right, next I have 5n times n squared. And because of my minus sign, that's why I'll put a minus sign right there. So minus 5n times n squared. And then finally, I have a plus 5n times 8. All right, so this kind of brings us back to Chapter 7, where we were multiplying powers together. In our first expression here, 5n times 3n cubed, we're going to take the 5 times the 3, which gives us 15. And the n times n cubed is n to the 4th. All right, minus 5n times n squared would be 5n cubed. And 5n times 8 is 40n. And because we cannot combine any of these terms because they are not like terms, that is our answer. 15n to the 4th minus 5n cubed plus 40n. All right, problem 2. Finding the greatest common factor. What is the greatest common factor of the terms of 3x to the 4th minus 9x squared minus 12x? So the first thing that we want to do is list the factors of each term. Identify the factors common to all terms. So 3x to the 4th can be written out as 3 times x times x times x times x. Negative 9x squared can be written as negative 1. I'll factor out the negative. And then 9 is 3 times 3. And x squared is x times x. Negative 12x can be written as negative 1 times 12 written as its prime factors is 2 times 2 times 3, and then times x. So let's circle the factors that are common to each. I have a 3 in each term. I also see an x in each term, and that's it. There are no other common factors. So our greatest common factor is 3 times x, or simply 3x. All right, so now we're going to apply that concept, and we're going to factor these trinomials. And we're going to, rather than write out all the factors each time, I think that we can do this. That is an alternative if you need to do that. but I think we can look at these numbers and determine our greatest common factor. All right, so what is the factored form of 9x to the 6th plus 15x to the 4th plus 12x squared? First thing that you want to do is look at your coefficients. What is the largest number that is a factor of each of those three numbers? And the answer to that would be 3. 3 goes into 9 3 times, 3 goes into 15 5 times, and 3 goes into 12 4 times. Now, let's look at our x terms. We have x to the 6th, x to the 4th, and x squared. What is the most number of x's that we could factor out of all three terms? And a hint here is it's always going to be the term that has the lowest exponent. We can take an x squared out of 12x squared. We can also take an x squared out of the 15x to the 4th and the 9x to the 6th. So I'm going to bring down my x squared. And that would be my greatest common factor. All right, so now what we're next going to do, we're going to draw a set of parentheses, and we're going to put inside those parentheses the remaining terms that we would need in order to multiply and get our initial trinomial. So the question is first, 3x squared times what would give me 9x to the 6th? And since we know that 3 times 3 is 9, I know that 3 is going to be a part of it. And then x squared times x to the what power will give you x to the 6th? And hopefully from chapter 7 you recall that we add our exponents. X squared times x to the 4th is x to the 6th. And let's see, I don't want to put a parenthesis there. Okay. But that would be 3x to the 4th. All right, 3x squared times 3x to the 4th gives us our 9x to the 6th. All right, let's look at the next term. 3x times what number will give us 15x to the 4th? Well, we know that 3 times 5 gives us 15. X squared times what would give me x to the 4th, and that would be x squared. All right, so just to review, 3x squared times 5x squared will give me 15x to the 4th. And finally, okay, I want to ask myself 3x squared times what will give me 12x squared? Well, I know that 3 times 4 gives 12, and x squared is already in my multiplier, and x squared is all I need here, so I'm done. I don't need to add any x's after the 4. So my final answer, and I'm going to erase this and just rewrite that, is 3x squared times the quantity 3x to the 4th plus 5x squared plus 4. All right, let's do the same thing with the next one. What is the factored form of negative 6x to the 4th minus 18x cubed minus 12x squared? Well, first looking at my coefficients, negative 6, negative 18, and negative 12, I notice they're all negative, so I'm going to take out a negative in my greatest common factor. Also, 6 will go into 6, it'll go into 18, and it will go into 12. So 6 is my greatest common factor among the coefficients. Looking at my x terms, x to the 4th, x to the 3rd, and x squared can be taken out of all three terms. So my greatest common factor is negative 6x squared. Drawing my parentheses, Now I'm going to find out what I have to multiply that factor by in order to generate the entire trinomial. So, looking at the first term, negative 6x squared times what will give me negative 6x to the fourth? Well, my negative 6 is already there, so I just have to take x squared times x squared, and now I'll have negative 6x to the fourth. Negative 6 times a positive 3 will give negative 18, and x squared times x will give me the x cubed. All right, and finally, negative 6 times positive 2 will give me the negative 12, and my x squared and x squared is already in the factor. So I'm finished with my factoring, and my factored form would be negative 6x squared times the quantity x squared plus 3x plus 2. All right, problem 4. Factoring a polynomial model. Find the area of the shaded region in factored form. Find the area of, all right, well, to find the shaded area, what we notice, or hopefully it looks like a square at your end, at least it did on my computer, but here on the smartboard it does not look like it's a squarish, but we're going to assume that it is. And I'm going to mark this side 6x so that all sides have the same length. What we're going to do first is find the area of the square, and then we're going to subtract out the area of the circle since it's not part of the shaded area. All right. Well, the area of the square is side times side. All right, so the area of the square, since one side is 6x, and we have to take the length times the width, that would be 6x times 6x, or 6x quantity squared. And that would be equal to 6 squared, which is 36, and x squared, so 36x squared. All right, the area of the circle we're going to subtract out. All right, and area of a circle, you'll remember, is pi times the radius squared. So we have, substituting in 3x, which is our radius, we have pi times 3x squared. All right. Now, let's evaluate that, and then we'll subtract the circle from the square. All right, so pi 3x, let's square this part right here. All right, so we have pi times 3x times 3x would be 9x squared. All right, 3 times 3 is 9, or 3 squared is 9, and x squared is x squared. So I'm going to rewrite this here in just a minute, but basically what we have is 36x squared minus this expression right here. So let me rewrite this. I have 36x squared minus 9x squared, and I'm going to put my pi here at the end. And we could substitute 3.14 for it, but we're just going to leave this in terms of pi, meaning that pi is going to be in our answer. Now, what we want to do, it says find the area of the shaded region in factored form. So we want to take this expression right here and factor it. Well, what you will notice, 36 and 9 have a common factor of 9. There's also an x squared in the first term and an x squared in the second term. So I'm going to take out an x squared. So 9x squared is going to be our greatest common factor. Now, drawing my parentheses, I'm going to ask myself 9x squared times what will give me 36x squared? And that would be 4. 9x squared times 4 gives 36x squared. Also, 9x squared times what will give 9x squared pi? Well, I see a 9x squared right here, so all I really have is the pi. And so my factored form would be this expression right here. 9x squared times the quantity 4 minus pi. All right, so as a closing question, let's look at this. What is the factored form of 12x to the 5th plus 20x to the 4th minus 36x cubed? If you have a spot in the margin on your notes, you might copy this problem and come show me your answer. All right, hope you have a great weekend, and I will see you on Tuesday.